and you know what they'll say.
Mm-hmm.
She's naive. She's been covering for him. He's crying right now. He's right over there. Are you taking the heat for him?
No. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. I'm DanieSteel. So let's get right into it. Are black men delusional? Hello! Are black men delusional? See, y'all was having fun. See, y'all was having a good time coming over here laughing at the ladies' expense, right? She telling them they not as cute as they think they is, and oh, you put on a little weight, and right? Oh, okay. And what about you? And what about you, right? It's the Peggy Bundy for me today. Comparison is the thief of joy, I think they say. I would leave the comparisons alone, right? Because you don't want to be compared. Why compare other people constantly when you don't want to be compared? Because if you're comparing, now we're talking scoreboard, we know the numbers. You want empathy and compassion for what you're up against. But you don't think that your counterpart in the black woman should have that, right? In terms of your expectations of her, right? When you expect women to compare what they bring to the world stage, you need to consider, what do you bring to the world stage, right? Because there's this constant reminder to black women, you're not the only ones out here. Okay, and neither are you. You're not the only ones either, right? I think that y'all would be in a better headspace if you did start thinking more world stage and setting goals for how you compete with other men. No more conversations about hair and makeup. Can you imagine? Right? And everything was about finances and businesses and building and generational wealth and education. I think that would be great. Something to consider, right? Something to consider. There's some clip of some guy being like, the white men get the best women's, right? He said that. It's out there. So you want what another man has worked for. You want a replica of the woman that his patriarchy produces. So then produce the way his patriarch produces. And then you would get that woman. I'm gonna say it all the time because I do. I have so much respect for Lennon Honor and his wife and just what they have built with their family. Him coming from a similar background like mine, growing up and seeing abuse and addiction and deciding so that he could have a wife, right? And he said it's not been easy. He's doing well now, but it hasn't been an easy road for him to make sure that for 16, 17 years, his wife can rest in her feminine and be the wife and mother that he desires for himself and his children and his family, because he's providing her with that masculine, right? He's providing her the masculine. He's doing the work. He's doing the physical labor. He's not keeping her on her feet, right? Her ankles ain't swollen. So she gets to stay home, research recipes, every night something better, and just really be that soft, feminine woman that every man wants, right? Because he's provided that for her. And he's made no excuses about making sure that that's what he's going to provide for his wife and his family. Okay, so period. If you don't know what clip I'm talking about, check out my last video, which is in honor of Lenore, and you will see it there. It's not rocket science. You cannot demand of a woman to compete with other women when you will not compete with other men. This is for the loud minority. This is for the loud minority. I know even in my personal life, I've had dudes who I really thought, would rather compete with men trying to compete with me. Street harassment is a major issue for Black women particularly. You have a culture that I have yet to see any of y'all really address, except for Lenore. Lennon. Except for Lennon. Honor, really. And there's a few other guys out there. So you have a culture that allows for that type of intense street harassment from, how old do y'all start bothering these girls? What do you think that does to a woman? I remember being in high school and being like, after a while, being like, I really don't want to go to guy basketball games anymore because I didn't want to go to school dances, you know, other school dances and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, I don't know what it is about me that think that they can just up and grab me and treat me any kind of way, touch me or whatever without consent, etc. But I'm not here for it. And that was happening in middle school. That was middle school. That was high school. What do you think that does to a young girl? You want to say, oh, you act masculine, right? Well, if I act masculine, can I walk down the street without being harassed? Can I be left alone just that much more? So I can just be outside and I can go for a jog and not be yelled at and bothered and treated horribly. So what are you providing? You got to check that as a man. I have a lot of expectations for your women, but it doesn't seem to be a lot of wanting to give. Give to our women. Be real to our women. And if we don't, we'll have a race of babies that'll hate the ladies that make the babies. I always loved Pac because he really was so ahead of his time. He reminded me a lot of Malcolm X, and just in the way that he saw the community and the way that he was in tune to things. And no surprise, they're both native New Yorkers. We also have to be real with and acknowledge there are guys out there that will try to bully and intimidate and coerce women into sexual relationships with them. And then you'll like make fun of a woman for not knowing really how to react and respond to that, right? It's oftentimes a vulnerable woman, which is the type that they seek out, right? It's just not realistic. That would lead me to believe that you're delusional. Because if you provided, if Black women lived under the umbrella of protection and safety that white women lived under because of disparity, right? We know that that's not really a possibility. We know that for it to be true with the men, but we can't understand why it's true for the women. So that leads me to believe that you're delusional. And the men out there that perpetuate this myth that these Black women who are largely conservative and were still in the church, and some of them even protecting predators, right? For some reason, those same Black women were second wave feminists that couldn't wait to kick men out of the house so they could get a tiny little last welfare check, right? And be stigmatized and have a harder way of doing things in life. That's the narrative that we want to perpetuate. Delusional. That's delusional. To me, that's delusional. But let's go further into some of the more delusional things, right? Because we also have this hate the mama who stayed, but have no problem with the daddy who left mentality. You have a problem with your mother. You're upset that she raised you and she was tough and she hit you and she let niggas come in and out the house and they were sleeping on the couch and they was eating your Lunchables and they was okay. I get it. Okay, so say you got something resembling that and your daddy just up and left and y'all don't have no same energy for daddy that left. You pretend like that's not a problem. I see it all the time. Everyone's making fun of, I'm like, the numbers don't lie. Most of y'all don't have a daddy. But if you ask every Black person on YouTube, I got a daddy. I got a daddy. He's alive. I know who he is. He ain't worth shit. But you know, he exists. No, he did not raise me. He abandoned his responsibilities as a father. And therefore, he's obsolete as a man. He cannot compete on the world stage with other men. My husband does not welcome him, would never welcome him into my home. No, because my husband knows what kind of men I want to be around. And he knows I don't want to be around like that. I don't want to be around men that don't know how to raise their children. Speaking of men that don't raise their children, Dr. Umar.
No, there's no reason to be a hater of a man who doesn't take care of his children. But I want you, just to give you guys an idea of how, you know, Umar Johnson he's a deadbeat. Listen.
And then when a child support man calls me up, he says my daughter's name, right? First name, middle name, last name. I knew she wasn't going to give him my last name. Wow. I anticipated that. Wow. She ain't got my last name. She got a mother last name. which was disrespect. Yeah.
Yeah,
But check this out. He mentions the middle name, and I don't want to say my baby name on the film.
Right.
But I give you the middle name. Guess what the middle name is? I said, run that back. Because when my baby was born, we had an agreement. She get the first name. I get the middle name. I chose Adezanai as a Zulu name for princess. She told me she didn't like it, but she never told me that she wasn't going to use it. First time I found out my daughter's middle name is last week on the phone with the child support man.
Teach theater after school to kids in these schools. I give talks at schools about overcoming living in foster care and you know, making it out, all that stuff. And so I'm in these schools and I've seen the way that they stigmatize Black kids. I've seen the way that they overdiagnose Black kids with mental disorders that they don't necessarily have, that they're just a kid, or maybe they're just a bored kid, etc. I've seen it firsthand. And so to hear about someone like Dr. Umar Johnson, who is a Black man advocating for Black children to be treated right in all of these schools, this was like so important for people to hear. And then it's like, oh, but he's out here really trying to like scam people. There's allegations of drug abuse. I'm not gonna get too much into it. As a fellow educator, I've seen these mothers out here, these single Black mothers doing the best they can for their children, and what the kids have to work with, and how they do the best they can so that the kids don't feel like they're going without. They don't need to be preyed upon. They need to have people buying them birthday gifts. If I was a man of means, I would say 15 of my followers right now, Black women, drop your Cash App and let me serve you and thank you for raising our children, etc. Right? It seems to be a lot of delusion there as well. You know what you can be doing and you're bothered by what you've actually been doing, right? You know it doesn't add up. And it would have been really nice to have institution for Black students. I know LeBron James started his school. And it looks so nice and the kids look so happy. And I'm sure they understand to treat all the kids the same. I think a lot of times Black men want to believe that there's a quick fix to what we're living under. And if there's not going to be a quick fix to it, then they don't want to be involved, right? And they don't want to be a part of it. Straight up. Like if I can't fix it the way I can go to the gym, and I know if I go in the gym every day and I hit this amount and I do this amount, I'll get this result. If it's not going to be like that, if it's not going to be like when I'm playing my video game and I'm grinding and I'm grinding and I know eventually I'm going to get to this result. The situation that we find ourselves in, gentlemen, it's just a lifelong fucking journey of putting in work every day to uplift your people, to uplift your children, to protect your women and children, to be educating yourself, to decolonize. It's just a lifelong journey, the end. It's not, there is no quick fix to this, and that's clear. And speaking of quick fix, let's move into Andrew Gillum. Wow. The interview with Tamarind Hall.
I lived, you know, the first 20 years of my adulthood serving everybody else, being for everybody else what they needed me to be without being that for myself. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, meeting everybody else's expectations. That's Andrew of March 11th. It's not Andrew of today.
Incredible. One, I love Tamron. I know this video is supposed to be for the guys, but it's also always for the girls because we're very girly over here. And I love Tamarind Hall. I love her. She's so cute and little and just adorable. And she's a powerhouse. She's actually, to me, an icon. So she does the interview with Andrew Gillum and his wife. They think that they're going to be able to work their way out of this and still be like in politics, like he didn't do a lot of the stuff that he did. And I'm here to tell you, private sector, you're gonna have to go to the private sector. The only thing that might be working in his favor is that Americans increasingly treat politics like an entertainment or game show, right? As we can see. If things are done old school, people are behind the scenes doing things as well, then it's probably gonna be a lot harder for them than they think. If it's gonna be all these game show rules, the thing is, the person that gets to make it look like a game show, he owns the game show. He was like, I think I can go back into politics because Trump is president. He's a billionaire. He has generational wealth. He's white. He's powerful. He's been in this game doing these things for a very long time. He's got a lot of connections. I mean, the list goes on of what Trump has for him, that he can be who he is in this game, and why you can't move the way Trump would move. You see what I'm saying? Delusional. His wife talked about, oh, well, he's so disciplined, I just couldn't see this happening. He's not disciplined, because look what he did. And not only that, but he tried to throw his kids under the bus. He was like, everything my kids did was annoying. What? Why would you say that? Like, just to get empathy for yourself? If he just sat there and was like, hey, this is a situation, it is what it was, and I take full responsibility, point blank, period. Instead, he was like, yeah, well, you know, me and my wife was having problems, and the kids, everything they did got on my nerves. And I've always done everything else for everyone else, but I never do anything for me. You think I'm gonna vote for somebody who loses 3 to 4 hours of time? That's what his wife called discipline. Somebody who loses, according to his own self, somebody who, after having a drink, loses 3 to 4 hours of time. Let me tell you something, bruh. I've been to a lot of parties. Unless you were drugged, in which case somebody should be arrested for drugging you, you tend to remember more than just the first sip. I've never been to a party where I was just like the first sip and then I remember nothing else for 3, 4 hours. No, nothing else. You remember nothing else. That's delusional, that you think you can sit up here and tell people that and people would believe that. That's delusional. I'm not gonna believe that. I'm an adult. You remember more than that first sip, bruh. And unfortunately, a lot of times women mistake discipline when actually what the man is manipulative and or measured and or calculating and or cunning, right? The disciplined man has discipline enough to not cheat on his wife, certainly not to get caught up in it, certainly not to have pictures that, you know, make his family feel like they've done something wrong and have to deal with shame they didn't ask for any part of. A disciplined man would never put his family in that situation. For all of eternity now, there's a tape of this man talking about how my kids were annoying, everything they did was annoying. You sound ungrateful. You look drained, you looked exhausted, them late nights ain't ungrateful. And she's sitting there just ready to cover for every little mistake he got. So of course he's gonna do that, right? You fellas, let me know. If a chick lets you do anything, are you not gonna do it? I'm a kind of person, like I said, there's no football over here. I'm the only person allowed to play video games. Okay. Period. I want to act like y'all don't compete with black women, but let's not pretend y'all didn't come out with no pigeons after No Scrubs came out. What was that? Why didn't you just let women have a song? I remember that song came out and I was like, yeah, that's a great way for me to explain how I feel about these guys constantly intimidating me with street harassment, right? And I don't want no pigeon. Don't be the girls can't get no love for us. Of course, I don't remember anything after that because this song was ridiculous. But it was like, so we said we don't want no scrubs. And then you guys are like, I don't want no pigeons. Like, oh God, just let women be women. And then you'll find that you can be more of a man. Because as a man, that's on you, right? There's no woman that's dictating your level of masculinity. Sorry, but that's not how it works. You can't put out things like that and then tell your women to be dainty and small. How are you gonna be dainty and small and feminine when you have to walk down a street where dudes is street harassing you? There's a lot of delusion. If you focus more on competing with other men, the way that it's in your heart to do, it's a biological calling for men to compete with men. Follow that calling and just support and uplift your women and children. You guys, let me know what you think. If you're new over here, welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys next time. You're not the only ones out here.